It all starts in a dating sim, where a cute, hungry girl asks what they're going to eat. Just then, the game offers two choices: go to a restaurant or keep walking until they find something. On the computer, we see the protagonist ready to make her choice. She's pretty annoyed because this is the 5th game where she's gotten a bad ending. But this time, she's confident because she has a plan to win. Turns out, the young woman now has a complete game manual, so she's totally prepared to win. So back in the game, she moves the mouse to the second option, following what she read in the guide. With that, she slams the mouse button while shouting that no little game is going to beat her. But her choice resulted in a terrible ending, where the character got tired and disappeared from her life forever. The girl is completely frozen when she sees the message on the screen saying she got another bad ending. Furious, she starts shaking the monitor, yelling that it's the first time she's played that game. Even after following the manual, she failed, and now she's wondering if she didn't have enough points or if she did something wrong. While she's complaining, a mysterious pop-up simply appears on her computer screen. An ad for an immersive spy game appeared on the screen, available for download. In it, you play as the great commander of the guard and must help the Empress fight against the demon clan. The protagonist gets super excited about the new game because being a general is totally her style. Without a second thought, the girl starts downloading the game. She complains that the campus internet is too slow and gets sleepy while waiting for the download to finish. So the young woman decides to go to sleep, believing that when she wakes up, the game will be ready for her to play. But suddenly, she starts hearing a strange voice calling her milady while she's still asleep. Opening her eyes, the young woman finds an unknown woman right in front of her and is completely confused. At that moment, she realizes she's in a bed with a woman and wonders where on earth she fell asleep. A floating blue screen appears, welcoming the player to the world of Above the Empress. On it, we see that the character's name is Gu Ning, and her reputation is Lust Ghost, which leaves her confused. The protagonist scratches her head and understands that she's transmigrated into the game, and the woman beside her asks if she's alright. As the commander, she grabs the servant and with an angry face asks for her name. The subordinate says her name is Zhu, and thinks Lord Gu is pretending to have amnesia, which gets her a little excited. The girl seems to be waiting for something more and praises her lady's variety of gameplay. Losing patience, the commander just tells the girl to get out of the room and kicks her out. Alone in the room, she stands there trying to process everything that just happened to her. Looking at herself in the mirror, the girl is impressed with her appearance, but finds the mix of clothing styles a bit messy. She decides she'll do her best since she's stuck here, but her priority is to find a way back home. Suddenly, the new system called Pacify the Realm appears in front of her and starts loading quickly. An urgent mission pops up saying that assassins have invaded the palace, and she despairs at the options. The system warns that one choice leads to a bad ending, and the commander's phobia kicks in because she always chooses wrong. But to her delight, she sees she has 2 chances to go back if she makes the wrong choice, which is a relief. So the redhead decides she'll get reinforcements first, and chooses the option to notify the Imperial Guards. With time running out, the general calls for Zhu Jun and orders her to take her to the Imperial Guard camp. After riding for a while, the two finally reach their destination, a large camp full of guards. The protagonist complains about her sore butt and says the game is too realistic because riding a horse is really hard. With time running out, the servant asks if they're still going to continue, and Genning looks for the guard commander. At that moment, her subordinate points to a nearby tent and says the commander is inside. The young woman runs to the tent, ignoring the other guards as the situation is urgent and there's no time for formalities. However, she walks in on an unusual scene that leaves her shocked. As she opens the tent flap, she finds the woman taking a bath and is stunned by the heavenly sight. The commander of the Imperial Guard looks surprised to see the intruder in her tent and gets all flustered by the situation. Her name is Si Yun, and she yells Gu Ning's name, completely embarrassed. The protagonist is captivated by the woman's beauty but quickly remembers she's there to win the game. So the redhead warns that assassins are planning to attack the Empress and that she needs to lead the guard to protect her. But Si Yun doesn't believe a word of it and furiously orders the Imperial Guards to throw her out of the tent. With that, our character and her servant are simply tossed out. The general complains about the treatment, but her subordinate explains that she's been harassing her for 3 months. The girl is shocked and Zhu confirms it, saying they even caused a scene in front of the Empress herself. With her hand on her head, she finally understands why she has such a terrible reputation as a lust ghost. Suddenly, fireworks explode in the sky, catching the attention of all the guards in the camp. Si Yun realizes the fireworks came from the Empress's quarters and that the assassination was real, not an excuse. Go Ning orders everyone to save the Empress, but our girl refuses to go. The redhead realizes the journey took too long and that this was the wrong choice, so she decides to go back in time. With that, the rollback ability is activated. She returns to the beginning of the mission and now understands that the fireworks were the signal for the attack. She deduces that the assassins will attack later and that the fireworks are just a distraction. Confident, she chooses to go to the Empress's quarters because this time she's not going to fail no matter what. The general orders Du Jun to call the Jinwu Guard to protect the Empress. They arrive at the Empress's quarters, a huge and heavily guarded place with many soldiers. She orders the guards to tighten security and not let even a mosquito get through. She announces herself and requests an audience with Her Majesty, the Great Empress. A voice from inside the room says she already knows the situation and tells the commander to enter immediately. Upon entering the room, they see the Empress's silhouette behind a thin red curtain. The servant talks about rumors that the Empress is dangerous, but she thinks it's all nonsense. Guning says that she and her men will guard the place. She thinks there's no safer place than by the Empress's side. Her Majesty asks if the guards are in position, and the redhead guarantees she will protect her with her life. Time is running out, and the player knows from the last save that the assassins should be arriving soon. Then the Empress speaks calmly from behind the curtain, saying their time is almost up. The protagonist is surprised by Her Majesty's words and asks if she already knew about the assassination attempt. The Empress says it makes no difference knowing about the attack, as they would just replace her. With a weary look, she reveals that she trusts no one and that death would be a great relief for her. The protagonist has a vision of the Empress trapped in a cage and is shocked. She offers to be Her Majesty's trusted person, but she says she doesn't have much time left to live. At that moment, a loud explosion echoes through the place. The commander is surprised by how fast the assassins are and shouts for the guards to be on alert for the attack. The Empress, in a calm voice, reveals that all the guards and servants in the palace have already been bought off. At this very moment, they should be killing each other outside. The young woman realizes that according to the Empress, this is already a dead end, and not even a miracle could save them. However, with a confident smile, she promises that next time, she will bring the miracle Her Majesty is looking for. The Empress remains silent for a moment, seemingly surprised by her commander's determination. Then, a group of skilled assassins in red hoods invades the place. They move with incredible agility and quickly advance toward our girl. Our girl is brutally struck by one of the assassins. Besides her, the Empress has also already perished. Wounded, she is shocked by how quickly the Empress died, finding it all very unfair. The system detects the protagonist's trauma and blocks the sensation of pain so she won't suffer. One of the assassins praises the commander for staying calm even after being seriously injured. The group's leader asks what the ruler said to the redhead, but she replies that it was a secret. The white-haired girl is surprised that the general can still make jokes even in that situation. Then the assassin takes off her hood, revealing her face, and asks if the commander recognizes her from somewhere. The villain approaches and says she can't wait to taste a bit of her blood. With a smile, our girl asks if the other would be mad if she said no, since she just got here a few hours ago. Furious, the woman shoves the blade deeper and yells that her younger sister was unjustly imprisoned by the commander. The assassin then tells the redhead to take this information with her to the next world and complain there. Even injured, the protagonist says the other is a terrible assassin for giving away so much information for free. With a determined look, the young woman tells her opponent that you never know what might happen in the future. The white-haired woman doesn't care about her words and raises the blade. At that moment, the dagger comes down with full force, but a third save point is activated before it's all over. Now we see the Empress's hand. The Empress introduces herself and says that this is the day she will die. Our girl remembers offering to be Her Majesty's trusted person. With a determined smile, the redhead promises to bring the miracle the ruler so desires next time. The Empress also seems to have had a strange dream that a leader like her should never have. The fireworks explode in the sky, and our protagonist already has her sword in hand ready. Inside the room, we see the silhouette of Her Majesty, who seems completely desolate and hopeless. Tears stream down the young ruler's face as she believes her end is drawing closer. With her eyes closed, the white-haired girl laments because, for her, it's all completely over. But suddenly, the door to the room bursts open, completely changing the farewell atmosphere of the place. Zujun enters and reports that the commotion has been contained and the crisis successfully resolved by the Jinwu Guard. Her Majesty asks which great commander the servant is talking about, and she confirms it's Lord Guning. Impressed by the feat, the Empress then decides to issue a royal decree for her faithful commander. We see Her Majesty's palace again. The group's leader can't believe her perfect plan failed and wonders how the guard managed to predict everything. The redhead taunts the prisoner, saying she went back in time twice just to defeat her. But in the middle of her celebration, her servant comes running, saying the Empress wants to see her immediately. The system announces that the mission is complete and that the Empress has a terrible reputation for being cruel and without virtue. The servant says Her Majesty is furious, and the protagonist panics because she acted without official permission. But the commander remembers that the ruler already knew about the attack and hopes everything will turn out fine in the end. In the throne room, the general kneels before the Empress's silhouette and formally announces herself to her. Then Her Majesty's voice echoes through the hall, and with an imposing tone, she simply orders her to enter. She's a bit surprised after she reveals herself. The Empress reveals herself to be a beautiful woman and promises to richly reward her vassal for the great deed. The protagonist is shocked because Her Majesty has always hidden herself, and now she fears for her own life. In a cute and shy version, the Empress seems very embarrassed to have to show herself like this. The ruler notices her stunned expression and with a sad voice asks if she's ugly by any chance. The redhead compliments Her Majesty's appearance, but she insists and orders the commander to tell the truth. Pressured and a bit shy, she says with a smile that Her Majesty is actually a very cute person. The Empress is overjoyed with the compliment and gets up from the throne, which makes the protagonist desperate. Due to her excitement, she ends up tripping on the stairs. But halfway down, the ruler trips and lets out a cry of surprise as she nearly falls to the ground. With quick reflexes, our girl catches the Empress just in time to prevent the fall, and the two end up very close. All flustered, Her Majesty notices how soft her commander's hand is and blushes completely at the touch. Realizing the situation, the redhead panics, lets go of Her Majesty, and kneels, but as she lets go, the Empress falls to the floor. On the floor, the ruler thinks about the rumors about her and the general, and with an embarrassed look, asks for help to get up. The protagonist goes into a total panic and makes up an excuse, saying she's not feeling well so she can escape the room. Alone in the room, Her Majesty can still smell the plum blossom scent, which is our girl's fragrance. She keeps thinking about her general and repeats her name softly with her tongue sticking out. In a cute version, the ruler scolds herself because as an empress, she can't fall in love so easily. However, she remembers that in the entire palace, only the great commander of the Jinwoo Guard is willing to protect her. With this, she realizes that the redhead cares about her and starts thinking of a way to spend more time with her, calling her Ning Ning. Already having an idea in mind, Her Majesty looks to a corner of the room, seeming to have found the solution to her problem. With a determined look, the young ruler appears to have made an important decision about her future. Outside, the protagonist says she felt like she'd gone to the gates of hell, and her servant comforts her. But a new system notification appears with the task of going to the secret prison to interrogate the assassin's leader. But another subordinate arrives, saying the prisoner has been taken, and the commander orders the troops to prepare. Inside a dark and damp prison, we see two guards sitting in front of a stone cell. One of the guards is peacefully dozing off while the other seems very bored with his job. Suddenly, the protagonist arrives with her servants, and one of the guards tries to block their entry. A mysterious woman appears, saying it's on her orders. The commander's servant explains that he is Guo Yun, the powerful minister of justice of the royal court. The redhead accuses him of kidnapping her prisoner, but he says he's just doing his official duty. At this, one of the subordinates gets angry and says the case belongs to the Jinwoo Guard because it involves the sovereign. Without a second thought, the girl draws her sword, ready to attack anyone who dares to steal their prisoner. The commander wonders if her ally has always been like this, and the other servant apologizes for her temper. Then the minister shows a tiger symbol and orders everyone to kneel before it immediately. The subordinate warns that seeing that symbol is like seeing the chancellor himself, and that even the lord must bow. The protagonist doesn't want to kneel because she finds the situation very different from when she bowed to the empress. But she remembers that this is just a game, so she can simply choose not to obey the order. The redhead thinks that a strategy game shouldn't be about shouting and chaos, but about plans. However, with a wicked smile on her face, she concludes that all this mess seems to be quite fun. But a mysterious female voice suddenly emerges and orders Commander Gu Ning not to kneel. The owner of the voice approaches slowly, revealing her elegant shoes and graceful walk on the stone floor. To everyone's surprise, the mysterious person is none other than the Empress herself in person. But just like last time, the young ruler ends up tripping on a loose stone in her path. And once again, Her Majesty lets out a scream as she falls flat on her face in front of everyone. The white-haired girl complains that this time the commander didn't even try to catch her, and the redhead is left speechless. The girl introduces herself as Jiang Yi, the Empress's special envoy, and our girl offers her a handkerchief. The minister doesn't believe the story and accuses the young woman of posing as an envoy to deceive everyone. The girl agrees with the minister for a moment, but then tells her to wait a moment. And suddenly, the Empress starts looking for something on the floor in a very tempting way. Our girl gets embarrassed after seeing the Empress in that tempting pose. After searching for a while, she finally finds what she was looking for. Shamelessly, the Empress thinks she can smell her subordinate's perfume. With a love-struck look, she, in disguise, once again whispers the affectionate nickname Ning Ning. Our girl asks if she found what she was looking for. After confirming, the Empress throws the golden token on the floor. The minister is completely shocked upon recognizing the token. It's the symbol of the Imperial Phoenix, and whoever sees it is as if they are seeing the Empress herself. With no choice, the minister kneels before her and places himself at her disposal to receive her orders. The protagonist asks the Empress if she also needs to kneel before the symbol. With a smile, she says no, because the commander is not just anyone to her. Then the Empress holds our general's hand and says she must protect her for life. But our girl thinks a lifetime is too long, and the other asks if she's going to abandon her. She realizes it's only the first day, and she can no longer treat this as just a game. Soon, the minister and his henchmen are thrown out. The guards complain about the Jinwoo Guard's attitude, but one of them suggests going home early after seeing the Empress's beauty. The minister gets annoyed with the suggestion and orders them all to stay on watch right there without complaining. With an angry look, she says that kicking him out won't solve anything. In a dark place, the minister asks if things are ready, and one of her men confirms it. With a wicked smile, she says that since the commander likes the prison so much, she can stay there forever. Back at the prison, the servant reports that the area is secure and the assassin leader has finally been captured. The commander says she's going to interrogate the prisoner, but the servant warns that she didn't say anything to the minister. With a smile, our girl says that moving the assassin would be too risky, which is why she came prepared. However, the Empress suddenly falls into our girl's arms asleep. Perhaps she's just taking advantage of our girl. The general thinks it's normal for her to be tired since she came from afar. Our girl wonders why she helped her. While stroking the Empress's face, she suddenly starts licking our girl's fingers daringly. A little embarrassed, our girl tries to push the Empress away. Her Majesty orders her servant to take her back to the palace safely. The servant carries the envoy on her back, and another subordinate comments that her lord has even won over the Empress. In the depths of the prison, we see the leader of the assassins chained up. With a hateful glare, the prisoner stares into the darkness of her cell. Then our girl and her ally approach her. After seeing our girl, the assassin leader reacts immediately, trying to attack her. With their chests touching, the assassin screams and calls her the Empress's little dog. Our girl's friend gets furious, but our girl interrupts to keep the mood from escalating. Now she reads from a scroll about the assassin's sister who tried to invade the city 15 days ago. With a smile on her face, the redhead asks if the other isn't curious to know how she remembers everything. The prisoner is in shock. She reminds the assassin of her reputation as a lust ghost. Furious, the woman screams and asks what the commander did to her sister, but our girl just threatens her. The assassin remains silent for a moment. The difference in behavior leaves them a bit surprised. Suddenly, the protagonist smells something strange in the air and wonders what it could be. At that moment, her subordinate gets dizzy and complains that she's starting to see double. The redhead remembers a class where she learned about a dangerous gas that is colorless and irritating. She then realizes the rotten egg smell is the gas and that there's poison inside the cell. The prisoner seizes the opportunity and attacks our girl. She throws herself to the ground to dodge the attack. She then notices, too late, a half-candle mark that likely activated the poison in the cell. The assassin gets on top of our girl and with a wicked smile tells her to die. The redhead realizes her ally has already passed out and that she'll be next, because they want to silence them. The assassin yells that she doesn't care if they want to silence her because she's ready for anything. Then she remembers that 4 years ago her family died of starvation, and that's why she swore revenge against the officials. But the commander starts laughing, and the furious prisoner asks what's so funny about the situation. The redhead taunts her, saying she thinks she's righteous but deep down is just an assassin trading innocent lives. The assassin says it's worth sacrificing everyone to eliminate the Empress's right hand. The general gets angry and yells that the other can't judge her without even really knowing her. With that, the prisoner calls her a puppet, but she just denies the accusation with a serious look. Out of breath, our girl says she won't stop her if she wants to sacrifice 200 families for revenge. The assassin hesitates for a moment and wonders if the commander will really save the people if she's released. With a smile, the protagonist seems to have won the argument, and the other is left not knowing what to do. The redhead complains that if they take any longer, they'll both end up being poisoned by the gas. Then the commander stands up and with a serious look tells the prisoner to just leave. The woman is surprised by her enemy's attitude and sees her shackles coming loose. With a confident look, the general tells the other to go save the people who are trapped in the prison. The assassin looks at the commander with a determined gaze and finally agrees to help save everyone. In his office, the Minister of Justice receives the news that Commander Gu Ning is still alive. His subordinate reports that 200 people were saved, so the villain decides to go to the prison. But upon arriving at the location, the guards prevent him from passing, and he demands to see the great commander immediately. Then the general's servant says with a smile that her lord is busy punishing the prisoner at the moment. Inside the cell, our protagonist is punishing someone. Meanwhile, the redhead asks if the assassin will continue to be loyal to a blind cause and offers her a new chance. In a cute version, the protagonist jokes if the other thinks she's trying to recruit her to her side. The assassin reveals that she belongs to an organization that had never attacked the court before. The general understands that they waited for the right moment to shock the world, but the other doesn't know the details. With a serious look, she realizes the assassin's plan isn't over yet and wonders what's next. The prisoner then says they can talk more after she can finally see her sister. Our girl smiles at the negotiation, but her servant warns that the minister is blocking the exit. Our girl comments that the villain seems interested in her, but the other says only his death would satisfy her. With a cold look, the assassin suggests that the commander just let her die once and for all. In a cute version, the general asks if they have a fake death medicine, and her servant confirms the plan. The prisoner is tied up, and the commander feels awkward learning how the fake death medicine works. With a smile, the servant shows her supplies that she uses daily, and she has some very unique items. Our girl doesn't know how to use the objects, and her subordinate says she's seen her use them before. Then the servant starts applying a special liquid to the prisoner's body to increase sensitivity. After that, she uses special rods to stimulate the cracked acupuncture points. The prisoner gets a dazed look on her face and seems to be completely sweaty after the procedure. But the assassin remains unresponsive, and the servant cries because her plan didn't work on her. With a confident smile on her face, our girl decides that she will finish the job herself. She then approaches the woman and says she's not feeling anything. She thinks about trying further down. With a mischievous look, our innocent girl realizes she's finally found what she was looking for. All embarrassed, the girl tells the other not to touch there because it's very ticklish and makes her feel awkward. The general asks the other to relax and says that when she gets excited enough, the medicine will work. The prisoner can't hold it in anymore, and with a loud scream, she finally passes out for good. Outside, the minister examines the body and confirms that the assassin has no pulse and is dead. The minister is confused by the dead woman's pose, who seems to be in a state of pure ecstasy. In a cute version, the servant explains that the prisoner died of pleasure, and our girl laments her terrible reputation. The subordinate asks what to do with the body, and the commander says to take it to her sister because they need information. The system announces that the mission is complete, and a new task appears to increase her strength with the help of the Empress. In a dream, the general is in a bathtub with Her Majesty, inviting her to practice a bit. All embarrassed, the ruler says that isn't appropriate, but our girl assures her everything will be fine. The commander then teases the young woman, who in return whispers the affectionate nickname Ning Ning. At that, the Empress wakes up with a scream, blushing completely as she remembers her recent dream. Alone in her bed, Her Majesty looks for her beloved but realizes she's no longer there with her. Then she remembers her commander's promise and how the other left her behind in the secret prison. With a determined look, the ruler calls her guards and orders them to issue a new royal decree. Back at the prison, the assassin wakes up, and the protagonist tries to explain what happened but feels awkward. Our girl is embarrassed, but her servant brags that she learned a few tricks from her lady. At that moment, the prisoner's sister appears and tells her to get up, which shocks the subordinate. The servant realizes she's been tricked, as the assassin's information and reactions were all fake. In a cute version, the servant gets annoyed with the prisoner, who then demands her part of the deal. But a guard comes running, saying something has happened while the two sisters hug in the background. Turns out the Empress is furious with her. With a furious look, the ruler says she doesn't care and that what she did was a serious crime. The protagonist gets scared, and Her Majesty with a serious look says she needs to be punished. But the punishment is actually a banquet, and the Empress says they are still going to bathe together. Then Her Majesty asks about the interrogation, and the redhead says that despite the problems, she got a good result. The general reveals that the enemy will attack again in 7 days during a ceremony. Our girl asks the ruler for help and understands the reason for her new system mission. Her Majesty agrees to help, but on the condition that the other satisfies her first. The Empress just wanted her commander to feed her and keep her company. Overjoyed, the young woman says she will go get some more manuals for her protector. But upon receiving the books, the protagonist is completely shocked. She realizes the manuals are about a special technique and that the Empress wouldn't joke about this. Her Majesty then asks about the technique and with a smile offers to help. In a cute version, the Empress insists on helping with the training and threatens to take the manuals back if she refuses. With little choice, the general accepts, believing Her Majesty knows what she's doing with those books. So they prepare for the training, and the ruler gets excited after remembering her dream. With that, our girl lays the young Empress on the bed, leaving her embarrassed. The protagonist reads the manual and feels awkward, suggesting maybe they should stop early. But Her Majesty ends up falling asleep and whispers that her commander's touch is very soft and gentle. Our girl just watches her sleep with a gentle smile on her face. Carefully, she places the ruler in bed to rest. Alone, our girl thinks it was risky and decides she'll find someone else to test the manuals on. But the minister sees the general leaving and tells her man that their chance has finally come. At the door of the commander's room, her servants hear a scream and wonder what's happening inside. One of the subordinates comes out of the room all sweaty. She had trained with her lady. The fox-eared servant gets indignant and shouts that she wants to participate in the special training too. But in reality, the redhead was just cultivating with the ex-assassin, and her allies find it all pretty boring. The protagonist finds the manual useless and asks her servant Hehwan to come help, as she needs a partner. The protagonist finds a manual for solo use and excited, she sends her servants away so she can train. The system detects a compatible technique, and an aura of power envelops her as she begins to meditate. The energy is so intense that a shockwave sends the door flying. The girls scream, worried about our girl. But our girl's shadow emerges. She orders a total lockdown and for the assassin sisters to stay nearby for security. She realizes she's hit the jackpot with a powerful technique, but she can't stop in the middle of the process. With that, she decides she'll finish it all at once since she's at her headquarters. Meanwhile, the minister tells an official that they now have proof to accuse our girl of treason. The girls scream, worried about our girl. He then warns that even a lion uses all its strength to hunt a rabbit, so they shouldn't underestimate her. Back at the palace, the Empress wakes up confused and wonders how she fainted when she was so close to her beloved. With a smile on her face, the young ruler starts affectionately calling for her dear Ning Ning. At that moment, a lady-in-waiting enters the room and informs Her Majesty that it's time to review the memorials. The young woman gets irritated about working in the middle of the night and asks if they're going to try to kill her again. The lady-in-waiting just ignores the question and throws a pile of scrolls on the floor. With a love-struck look, she, in disguise, once again whispers the affectionate nickname, Ning Ning. But suddenly, her expression turns to one of shock. Then she throws the scroll on the floor. Her Majesty yells at the lady-in-waiting about the false accusations against Commander Gunning. At that moment, she realizes that all the memorials delivered are to accuse her general. With this, the young woman understands that the entire royal court wants her beloved out of the way for good. Then, fond memories of her time with our girl flash through her mind. The ruler cries because they were together just a short time ago and wonders why they can't be happy. With eyes full of tears, she tries to think of a way to solve all this. But she feels trapped and powerless in her room because she can't even leave to warn her. The next day, the court gathers, and an official announces the start of the session to all present. Several officials accuse the commander of crimes, and the Empress, with a cold gaze, asks where she is. One of the general's servants kneels and says that her lord is busy cultivating and cannot attend. The subordinate stands up and defends her lady, but one of the officials accuses her of threatening the entire court. Then the minister approaches and says the commander's refusal is blasphemy and must be punished. The Empress wonders why the servant seems so fearless even in that tense situation at court. The subordinate's confident words echo in the ruler's mind as she reflects on her own faith. The Empress wonders why the servant seems so fearless even in that tense situation at court. With that, the young monarch fills with courage and prepares to face the entire royal court alone. Then, in front of all the officials, Her Majesty finally takes the floor to give her verdict. With a firm and imposing voice, she declares that she will testify in favor of her commander because she is innocent. Meanwhile, one of the servants tries to enter the room, but the other stops her because of the lockdown order. They need to wake the general but know that interrupting cultivation is very dangerous and risky. One of them gets an idea and touches her lord's foot, discovering a way to wake her up gently. Seeing that it worked, the girl asks her colleague for help and tells each of them to take a foot. The two start tickling their lady's feet, though it seems like they're taking advantage of our girl. The servant takes advantage of the situation and starts taking off our girl's socks. Inside the sock is a small report our girl left, leaving them shocked that she had foreseen this situation. In the secret prison, a servant orders everyone to dig, but the ex-assassin thinks it's an obvious trap. The prisoner's sister then says with a smile that maybe the general had planned all this already. The ex-assassin teases her sister for digging even though she thinks it's useless, and the other, all embarrassed, tells her to help. After digging for a while, the two sisters look at the hole and agree that the work is sufficient. But suddenly, all the lights illuminating the place go out at once, leaving everything dark. One of the girls wonders what happened, and the other realizes that the traps they dug will be useful. Meanwhile, a group of red-hooded assassins invades the headquarters, and the leader orders the attack. They are ordered not to drag out the battle and to resolve everything quickly to avoid raising suspicion. However, one of the invaders takes a wrong step into the hole they dug. With that, he falls into the hole. Then the general's servant and her squad emerge from the shadows as they have been waiting for them all along. The leader of the assassins gets angry and unleashes his power, revealing himself to be a powerful third-level warrior. Even injured, the man realizes the plan has been discovered and that he needs to go back to warn his master. In a cute version, the invader tries to run away but ends up facing a big problem. Another hole. The two sisters appear, and the ex-prisoner says the enemy can't beat her because he's low on energy. The assassin wonders if this was all part of the commander's plan while the Empress defends her in court. But the Chancellor approaches and reminds Her Majesty of the former Emperor's advice about ministers. The Chancellor interrupts the Empress and says she's been deceived, but will thank him in the future. But suddenly our girl appears in the hall and questions the man's words about being worthy. Her Majesty is overjoyed to see her beloved, and with a smile calls her by her affectionate nickname. The redhead then confronts the official and asks how he defines a petty and worthless man. With a smile, the general presents the assassin leader and asks if he fits the description. The two villains are shocked, and the Chancellor demands that the commander explain who this prisoner is. The protagonist stares down the old fox because this time, she can't go back in time to fix things. With a simple glance, the general gives her subordinate a signal. At that moment, the man is released. The man lunges to attack our girl, but she thinks this is exactly what she was waiting for. The commander concentrates all her energy into her fist. With a single blow, she hits the enemy squarely and defeats him easily in front of everyone. Fallen on the ground, a tiger symbol is visible on the man's chest, and the redhead shows it to the Chancellor. She remembers that the minister also has a similar symbol and accuses him of having planned the attack on her. The Chancellor sees the setup and says the impeachment needs to be re-examined as the leader is a suspect. The commander realizes the Chancellor has shifted the blame and left the minister on his side behind. Desperate, she throws herself on the floor, begging for forgiveness while her master abandons her. The official asks for the general's opinion, but she ignores him and kneels to speak with the Empress. With a loving gaze, Her Majesty asks her beloved to rise, but she accepts to be punished. The Chancellor praises the commander for her great deeds and says she is too modest for blaming herself. The ruler says her merits outweigh her faults, and therefore she can ask for whatever she wants. With that, the other officials switch sides, which our girl's servant dislikes, seeing their hypocrisy. The protagonist thinks that all her effort and her rollbacks were finally worth it in the end. She remembers when the minister was spying on her. She then wonders who keeps getting in her way. Her name is Ouyang Jing, and she's a powerful figure from the Office of Destinies and Alchemy. Later, our girl finds her in the hallway, and Ouyang locks them alone in a room to talk. She presses her against the wall and asks why she hates her so much and became a pawn for them. The white-haired woman then says they have no relationship and don't really know each other. With tears in her eyes, the woman confesses she's dead inside and tells our girl to finish her off since she won. In a cute version, the white-haired woman accuses the commander of playing with their relationship. Our girl gets confused and demands that the other explain herself better because she doesn't understand anything. Meanwhile, in the Empress's room, the young ruler wakes up, relieved that her beloved hasn't left, but she wonders why her commander is suddenly investigating the alchemy division. Then Her Majesty remembers an old record and starts searching her files until she finally finds it. The document says that the commander and officer Ouyang Jing came from the same village in the past. We see a flashback where a young Ouyang was asking her childhood friend to slow down, but our little girl was determined to get to the city and pass the exams to rule the world. With a smile, the girl hugged her friend and said they could go together, and the other agreed. Back in the present, Ouyang throws a box of letters and tells the commander to burn them if she wants. The protagonist reads one of the letters and wonders if she was an idealistic fool, and the other notices her confusion. With that, the white-haired woman approaches and asks if the general really lost her memories. Then she gets even closer to her face, almost kissing her, and says this will help her remember. But the Empress arrives just in time and sees the two on the floor, almost kissing. After noticing Her Majesty, the white-haired woman becomes disheartened. The Empress and the officer start to fight, and the commander tries to calm the two who are arguing over her. The two glare at each other angrily, and the redhead realizes she's in a love triangle. The officer brags about her past with the general, and Her Majesty accuses her of messing with her memories. Then Yoiche says she'll make a pill to cure the amnesia, and the young monarch accepts the challenge. Her Majesty says that without amnesia, the general would never care for a brat like Ouyang. The two start insulting each other, and the white-haired woman scoffs, asking if the other will use her imperial authority. The officer then asks when the last letter was, and the ruler replies it was 5 days ago. The commander remembers the assassination attempt was 2 days ago, and the Empress wonders if that's why she's treated differently. Our girl explains that she doesn't have amnesia and worries about how she'll explain it if the pill doesn't work. With a smile, the white-haired woman taunts the other and says everything will be revealed when she's done. Our girl takes advantage of her distraction to swap one of the vials. With a wink, she asks for silence, and the Empress blushes completely seeing our girl make a cute face. A while later, some pills are ready inside the cauldron. The white-haired woman takes one of the pills and finds it strange, as its color should be dark orange. But before she could think further, the commander quickly snatches the pill from her hand. With a smile, the commander eats the pill all at once. But right after, our girl's face starts turning all red, and the two worry, thinking the medicine failed. With a strange look, the protagonist then grabs the white-haired woman's arm, who is left confused. She throws her to the ground and compliments her white clothes, but the other asks her to calm down because they can't do that. The girl then says that if something is going to happen, they should at least wait for night to come, so they can be alone. But she can't resist and throws our girl to the ground too. Soon, she's on top of our girl, taking the lead in the situation. Her Majesty seizes the chance to be with the general, but the redhead says she actually prefers small ones. But Ouyang quickly offers an antidote for our girl to return to normal. Furious, the Empress asks if she thinks she would let her take advantage of this situation. The white-haired young woman tells Ouyang not to worry because even so, the commander only thinks about her all the time. Suddenly, the protagonist seems to be regaining consciousness, and the effect of the medicine finally starts to wear off. The general sits up and asks what happened, while the white-haired girl seems to grab another type of pill. She takes advantage of the situation and force-feeds the pill to the Empress. Ouyang reveals that the pill makes a person tell the truth and tells our girl that she will soon know everything. She comments to our girl that the Empress is worthless. The white-haired woman takes the chance and asks our girl if she thinks Her Majesty is good or bad. With a confident smile, the protagonist replies that of course her ruler is a good person. But the young monarch says no. Our girl is shocked, telling her not to lose faith like that. She then remembers that her main mission in the game is to help the Empress protect the kingdom. At that moment, the officer's hand moves, and she grabs some important documents to prove her point. With a smile, the white-haired woman throws several scrolls and tells them to see with their own eyes. The documents show that the Chancellor appointed corrupt officials, and the monarch could do nothing. In a cute version, the commander argues that the sovereign has no real power and therefore she's not guilty. She continues her defense, saying that Her Majesty is not the only one in the palace to take all the blame. The white-haired young woman just listens in silence, seeming to be processing her general's words. In a cute version, the commander argues that the sovereign has no real power and therefore she's not guilty. But even with the evidence, the protagonist says with conviction that she believes in Her Majesty's innocence. The white-haired young woman is surprised and asks why the commander still believes in her after everything. Suddenly, something comes flying at high speed. Suddenly, an arrow embeds itself in the floor, and the commander shields the Empress while yelling about assassins. If you want the next part, leave lots of likes and comments down below, and don't forget to hype the video, it'll help a lot.